Hey kiddos, so today we are going to do a new lesson. We are starting topic 11-10, which is dividing whole numbers by fractions. So in 11-9, we dealt with changing a regular division problem into a fraction and how we can also represent that answer as a decimal. So today we're actually going to start doing problems with fractions and dividing. But before we start that, I do want to go over the answers for your homework from last night. So if you want to take a second, you can pause the video while you gather your homework, whether you did it on your iPad or your actual workbook. That way you can go over answers with me. Alrighty, so for reteaching, number 1 is 3, 2 over 10. 2 is 3 over 10. 3 is 6 over 12. 4 is 1, 4 over 5. 5 is 0.8. 6 is 6.8. 7 is 1.2. 8 is 5.5. And for number 10, you can represent your fraction as 2 5 over 10 pizzas and as a decimal as 2.5 pizzas. For practice, number 1 is 1 5 over 10. Number 2 is 4 over 10. 3 is 12 over 20. 4 is 12 2 over 5. 5 is 0.4. 6 is 3.8. 7 is 1.6. 8 is 12.5. 9 is 2 over 10 and 0.2. 10 is 18, 1 over 2 and 18.5. 11 is 3, 3 over 6 and 3.5. 12, 7, 5 over 10 and 7.5. For 13 in the table, for chocolate covered raisins, it's 4 over 10 and 0.4. For cherries, it's 2, 2 over 10 and 2.2. For toasted almonds, it's 5 over 10 and 0.5. So if you got any of those questions wrong, just make sure to mark them incorrect. We will be doing a Zoom review in the next few days. So keep those problems in mind when we have our review. That way I can go over any questions that you might have, something that you're not understanding, because we will be moving on and having a quiz on this soon. So we are going to move on now to 11-10, which is dividing whole numbers by fractions. So there are a few things that we need to go over before we start doing problems. And the first thing is this fancy word you see here, reciprocal. And what a reciprocal means, it's kind of like the opposite. But when it's dealing with fractions, it's the upside down opposite. So for example, if we have the fraction 1 over 4, its reciprocal would be 4 over 1. So you notice how the 1 is now on the bottom and the 4 is now on top. So here it's the opposite, okay? We can do 3 over 2, and its reciprocal would be 2 over 3. So it's always the opposite. So whatever's on the top becomes the bottom, whatever's on the bottom becomes the top, okay? Then you might be wondering, why did Ms. Gomez write KFC? Is she hungry? No. KFC is just a kind of an easy way to remember how to solve dividing fractions problems. So KFC stands for keep, flip, change. And you're going to see why those words, what those words mean when we're dividing fractions. So remember, you should have your notebook out. If you need to pause the video to collect your materials so that you can work along with me, please do so, because I want you to make sure you have these notes in your notebooks so that you can review back when you're doing homework or when you're studying. Okay, So the keep means you're going to keep the first term. And I'll explain it more as I go on working out problems with you. Flip means you're going to flip the second term or find the reciprocal. Lastly, you're going to change the division sign to multiplication. If this seems unclear, we're going to go over everything right now. Just make sure you have these notes written down so that we can use them in solving our problem. So let's look at our first problem. We have 3 divided by 1 over 8. Okay, so here it's a whole number and we're dividing it by a fraction. So if we are following the rules of KFC, you are going to keep the first term. So in our new problem, we're going to keep the 3. The 3 is our first term in the problem. Then F means to flip the second term. So in this problem, here's the first, here's the second. So the 1 over 8 is going to have to flip. We're going to have to find the reciprocal of 1 over 8, which becomes 8 over 1. So these flip, okay? Then the C means change the division sign to multiplication. So what you're essentially doing when you're dividing fractions is you are multiplying by the reciprocal. Multiplying fractions is usually the easiest way to solve fraction problems because all you have to do is worry about solving and multiplying across. So when we flip our fraction, we need to make sure that we are also changing the sign because now we're changing the entire problem. When you are at this step, okay, once you've completed KFC, your fraction 3 times 8 over 1 is like just regular multiplying fractions. We would multiply across. 3 times 8 is 24 all over 1. Okay, remember we don't want it in that format, so our answer would just be 24. Okay, in your homework and in some of your work, you're going to see questions like this, but it's still the same concept. So how many 1/4 are there in 3? To write our problem, in 3, we're going to divide them by fourths. And if you want to see a picture of what this looks like, we're going to have 1 whole divided into 4 parts because of this 1/4. Okay, and there's 3 of them. And what it's asking is how many of these are there in 1, 2, 3? So obviously you can count and you can figure out that way, but solving the problem by doing KFC is also a way that you can figure out the answer. So KFC, K, keep our first term. In this case, it's 3. F is flip the second term. So here we're going to flip and find our reciprocal, which would be 4 over 1. Okay, we're just flipping it upside down. And then C, change our division sign to multiplication. And now we have 3 times 4 over 1. So 3 times 4 is 12 over 1 equals 12. Okay, and if you go back to our picture and we had 3 holes, 1, 2, 3 holes, and we cut them up into fourths, and we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 fourths. Okay, so we get the same answer doing the work. Now in this problem, how many thirds are in 3? So we got to set up our problem. 3 divided by 1 over 3. And then here, we're going to KFC, keep our first term, flip the second term, change our sign to division. So we work out our problem. 3 times 3 is 9, all over 1. And we want to write it in our correct format. Let's try this problem. 6 divided by 2 over 3. So we have, keep our first term, 6, flip our second. So here we're going to flip opposite, and 3 is going to be on top, 2 is going to be on the bottom, and then we're going to change our division sign to multiplication. So now we have to do a little bit more work, okay? We can simplify at the end like we've been doing in the other lessons for topic 11, or we can simplify in the beginning. So I'll show you both, okay? So our problem is 6 times 3 over 2. Here, we can simplify first, and you can notice that there is simplification here. We can divide both of these by 2, and we would get 1 here, 3 here, and then our new problem would be 3 times 3 over 1, and you would just get 9. If you want to simplify at the end, you would get 6 times 3 is 18. There's nothing here, so it's like over 1. 1 times 2 is 2. And since it's an improper fraction, we need to do long division. 2 goes into 18 9 times evenly. No remainder. All over the same denominator. We don't like this format, so your answer is just 9. We get the same answer, whichever way you want to complete it. Okay, let's try this one. 4 divided by 2 over 3. We have keep, flip, change. Okay, so K, F, C. Then we can simplify first by 2. And we would get 2 up here, 1 here, 2 times 3 over 1. And we would get 6 over 1, or just 6. If you want to simplify at the end, you can do 4 times 3 is 12, all over 2. It's improper, so we need to divide. 2 goes into 12, 6 times evenly. No remainder, so that means it's just a 6 as a whole number. Okay, we also have 6 divided by 3 over 4. So keep our first term, flip our second term, change division to multiplication, and then you can solve. So we can simplify first, if you like to do it that way, and then get 2 times 4 over 1, and it equals 8 over 1, or just 8, or 6 times 4 over 3. You can simplify at the end. So 6 times 4 is 24, all over 3. It's improper. And another shortcut you can do is we can simplify this way and say, well, both numbers have 3 in it. So 8 on top, 1 on the bottom, and then it's just 8. Or just do the long division way, whichever one is easier for you. Let's do this next problem. 9 divided by 3 over 8. So K, keep our first term. F, flip our second term upside down. And then C, change division to multiplication. If you want to do it this way, divide both by 3, and you get 1 here, 3 here. Rewrite the problem. And then we get 3 times 8 is 24, all over 1, or just 24. If you do it this way, 9 times 8 is 72 over 3. And we have to do long division because it's improper. 3 goes into 7 2 times, which is 6, and we subtract, we get 1. Bring down our 2, and then 3 goes into 12 4 times, which is 12. Remember, when there's no remainder, that just means it's a whole number, 24. Let's try this last problem together. KFC, remember to keep our first term, flip our second term, change it to multiplication. If you want to simplify first, divide both by 3. You get 1 here, you get 5 here, and then it's 5 times 5 over 1, which is 25. If you do simplification at the end, you would have to do 15 times 5. We could do the work up here. 3 times 5 is 15. 3 times 1 is 3, plus 1 is 45, all over 3. Since it's improper, we need to do long division. 3 goes into 14 once, which is 3. Subtract and you get 1, and then bring down the 5. 3 goes into 15 5 times. I think I did something wrong here. What did I do wrong? Oh, this way. Sorry, guys. So it's supposed to be 15 times 5. Silly Miss Gomez. 5 times 5 is 5. 25. 5 times 1 is 5, plus 2 is 7. So this should be 75. Sorry. 3 goes into 75. Okay, so now 3 goes into 7 2 times, which is 6. 1, bring down the 5, and 3 goes into 15 5 times evenly, which is 25. And that's why it's a good way to check your work, just to make sure that you're doing it correctly. Okay, so in dividing by fractions, it's just super important to remember that little trick. Okay, KFC. If you follow KFC every single time you do the problem, chances are you're going to do it correctly. Okay, keep the first term, so don't do anything to the dividend. Change your second term, which is your fraction. Even if it's a whole number, you'll just flip it over. Okay, so whatever you're dividing by is always going to flip, and then you're going to change it to a multiplication problem. Okay, so follow these steps to help you. Before or after you finish watching this and before you do your homework, make sure to do the Plickers Google form problem so I can kind of check your work and see if you're understanding. Also, in your homework's going to be 11-10 in your workbook, reteaching and practice. And guys, it's super, super important that when you upload your work to Google Classroom, you're taking pictures of your work. So some of you yesterday when you did 11-9, you just wrote the answers on your workbook or on the PDF that I sent you, but I want to see your work. So you can do that, but I also want to see pictures of you doing the work. Or if you do the PDF, you can show your work on the PDF. So please make sure that you are showing your work and I can see that you're doing the work. or I'm not going to be giving you full credit. Okay, just like if it was class, regular class time. Okay, so please make sure you complete 11-10. If you have questions, please message me before you get started if you're confused on something so I can help you out. Also, keep looking for some information about a review session on Zoom in the next few days. Okay, have a great weekend. See you later.